Hello and welcome to Two Hopes Garage. My name's Jace. Thank you very much for joining us. At long last, we've got some third gen Camaro content again. The front shocks have been here a wee while. I've never got around to fitting them, and I never got around to getting the grade 10.9 bolts and grade 10 nuts. So we've got them now. I've got a wee bit of time off in the holidays, so without further ado, let's get into replacing the front shocks on the 91 Camaro Z28. Cheers.
Jacked the vehicle up with the jack under the centre of the front cross member. I then put the axle stands under the lower control arms, took all the weight on the axle stands, and then just brought the jack back up into very light contact with the centre of that front cross member. And you'll probably see the Camaro is pretty low down, and even with a low entry jack, I've had to drive up onto a couple of whiskey barrel lids just to get a wee bit of extra clearance. When you're putting your front axle stands in, make sure that they are properly engaged with the lower control arms, and that they are taking the weight, and that everything is properly supported. So next up, let's get the wheels off. If you are taking the wheel nuts off with a breaker bar, be sure to crack the torque before you get the wheel off the ground. I've got a windy today, so no need to bother with that. So let's get the windy on, and it's a 19. First of all, make sure it's in the off direction. 1. And last but by no means least, number 5. There we go. And wheel off. There we go. Having done the Volvo brakes quite recently, the size of these Camaro brakes never fails to amuse me and shock me in equal measure. Never mind. Right, next up, we're going to get the brake pipe bracket off of the strut here. So you can't quite see the bolt head, however, you can see the end of it there, just where my finger is. I think it's a 13, we'll soon find out. I've got it on a wee extension, just to make life easier. Is that a 13? Moment of truth. Oh yeah, can't teach that, can you? Excuse the hands. I should probably have thrown a little bit of penetrating oil on here. However, unlike all the other vehicles I have, this Camaro is not rusted up. It tends not to get out in the rain. There we are. And that's our brake bracket off of there. Bolts. Next up, we've got the 2 bolts that hold the strut to the knuckle. On this side, I believe, it's a 24. Now, I'm a wee bit perturbed that I've got Imperial on here and metric on the other end. I've tried a 24 on the nut end, and although it does fit, there's a wee bit of slack. It's too big for a 23, and it's just a tiny bit slack on a 24. So I've popped a 15/16 on here, even though the other end's metric. So we'll get the impact wrench on that, and we'll see how we go. There we go. Hold this one taut and give it a blast. There we go. Beautiful. So there is our bolt, and there's our nut. Now, GM tells you to discard these. I have got a new set. They're not GM, but they are the correct spec. So we'll get the bottom ones off. Now, on the bottom, the brake shield stops you from putting the ring end of the spanner on, so I'm just going to have to use the open end. And the pipe's a wee bit in the way down here as well, but you can move it easy. Right, we'll give the bottom one a blat now. There we go. What I have done on this one, I put the top bolt back through loosely, just to support the strut while I removed the slightly trickier to remove bottom bolt out. That'll just hold everything in place. Obviously the knuckle's free to move about the bottom ball joint once this is disconnected, and we'll go up top and disconnect it up there, and that's just that sitting in loosely, keeping everything in place. Pop a wee flat blade under the cap and just lever that off. Then it's 21 on the strut nut and a 10 on the centre, so we'll loosen that off. Jeez, oh. Should be a tight one. Let's see if we can squeeze these two together. Get things loosened off. It's all a bit tight. A little bit of croil down here. See if that helps matters. Give them a squeeze. I'm going to see if I can give that a wee blat with the windy, just to get it unstuck initially, on account of it not cooperating currently. Let's give it a wee try with that. One of two things has happened here. It's either in exactly the same place as it was before, in which case we've not lost, or it's maybe shocked it into submission. Haha! It has indeed shocked it into submission. So yeah, quick blat with the windy. Job's a good one. Or should be tight. So if you remember, at the moment we've got the top bolt just sitting loosely in downstairs, keeping everything in place. Smashing. One upper nut off. So we'll go back down again. Right, what I have done here, now that the top's loosened, I've got a trolley jack just lightly supporting the rotor, and we'll look at getting this knocked out and the shock off. When this bolt comes out, the shock, or the whole knuckle assembly, is going to be free to rotate about the place on that bottom ball joint. So we're just going to try and restrict movement a wee bit. So one, we don't stress this, and we don't go over the desired angle in the ball joint downstairs. And we've got our new one ready to roll straight into position. There's going to be a bit of manhandling and a bit of wrestling. Time in the way. That washer, it's not where I need it to be. Now it is. A bit of a clunk. Drop this out the way a wee bit. old shock out, transfer the cover onto the new one. Pop it up into position. There we go. I'll just leave that sitting there. What I have done is just clean the bores of this out a wee bit with a little bit of Scotch-Brite. The new nut is on loosely up top, just holding the strut in place for the moment. I'm just going to locate one of the new bolts through there with one of the old washers. I'm changing the nuts and I'm changing the bolts. However, the new washers will give the correct spacing, so I'm just going to use them. So the manual at the moment says to torque. There we go. Let's just get that loosely in place for the moment. Let's just do what the manual tells us to do. So there's our new nut on. The workshop manual is telling us at the moment to pop the top nut on and torque it. So let's go with that. And they're looking for, that would be an open-ended now, wouldn't it? It's 10. So whereas before we had a hex on here, we now have an open-ended. The other thing I don't like the look of on this, I'd prefer a hex. I never feel these work quite as well. The other thing, where the brake pipe bracket locates on the old one, there was a threaded portion for it to go into. The new one just has a hole. So we'll see if we can tap it. Alternatively, I might just need to put a wee nut in the back of it, whereas before it just went straight through. So this gets torqued up to 63 Newton maestros, I believe. I'll put the figure along there. Question is, am I going to get that torqued? Because I'm not sure. I'm going to get this torqued without holding onto this. Right, I'd say that is there or thereabouts. So back downstairs. Right, so our nut is in up top. What we need to do now is the easier said than done job of getting this lined up so that we can get a bolt through. So yeah, we'll see how we go. Alright, just pump the jack up. Let's take that up. What a carry on. Don't lift it off the stands. There we go. I don't know. My head was probably in there for a whole load of that. Whew. There we go. So, I don't know how much you saw what was going on there. Essentially, I pumped the disc up so that the bolt hole aligned. Bit of shuggling, bit of ice picking, and we've got that aligned. So the bolt is now coming through. The bolt is a grade 10-9, M16, it's 75mm in length. The nuts that I'm using are a M16 flange stiff nut or prevailing torque fastener, where you can see this is a bit of an oval, so it just helps lock it into place. So we'll pop that on loosely for the moment. You can see it spins freely until it gets up to the end. Then due to it being deformed in the end, it doesn't want to spin freely anymore. You can see it's turning the nut at that, or turning the bolt at that point. So we'll look at getting the other bolt in now. Again, another one, brand new bolt, using the original washer. It's a 10.9 75mm, and we'll see if we can get this one into place as well. What will need to happen, this is off the road for the winter, but we're going to need to get an alignment done on this, but that's okay. So what we did to get the bottom hole to align was simply grab a hold of the shock, pull it in, and then push the bolt in at the same time. There was about 5 minutes of shuggling and swearing until I got that one sussed out. Not really worth filming, but yeah, suffice to say, you're going to have a little bit of juggling about to get these to line up. So the next thing is to get them to 170 Newton meters torque. Now, ordinarily, I would torque the nut. Due to access with the disc there, I'm going to torque the bolt and hold the nut, which isn't ideal, I appreciate, but needs must. So, 170 Newton meters on these. I'm going to need a wee extension on the torque-a-rooney. Bear with me. Get the torque wrench on. Lovely. Get our 15/16, oh, careful. Get our 15/16 Spaniard on. There we are, 170. We'll do that down in the bottom one. And right. Bottom one is also torqued. It's 170 Newton meters. That's what GM says to do then. I'll get this set up for easy numbers. Once you have done your 170 Newton meters, you then torque it another 120 degrees, and the final torque should exceed 200 Newton meters. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wind up my torque wrench to 200 Newton meters. Let's go in excess of 200 Newton meters. Yeah. About 203 there, which does exceed 200. And see if we can get a click. If we can get a click, we're good. That is torqued. I'll do the same for the bottom one. You probably don't need to see it. So here's what's going on at the moment. I'm putting the brake bracket back onto the vehicle. Now, the previous strut had on the inner of the two skins there, had a threaded insert for the brake bracket bolt to go through. This one just has two quite well misaligned holes. which the bolt does not go through. So there's what we've done. I've run a clearance drill through there. I have put a bit of thread lock on, and I've worked the bolt back and forward through there a couple of times, effectively cutting its own thread. It's in at a bit of an angle. It is not elegant engineering. It's ugly. I don't like it. However, is it going to come out? I don't think so, but I will keep an eye on that. I had a look at the holes on the other shock absorber, and they're the same. So I don't know if this is Delco's new way of providing a thread, or if there's been a mistake, or they're cheaping out, or they're expecting people to drill stuff out. I don't know. I don't like it, but I've made it work. So yeah, just be aware of that if you're getting these Delco shocks. The part number will be there. In fact, I'll put the part number about here-ish. It's secure. It's not pretty. Yeah. So there we go with that. So I'll do a quick run through before the wheel goes back on. So obviously shock's in place. The upper cover, that went in place before the shock went in. The two main bolts are torqued up to a 170 Newton meters, then a further 120, which should give at least 200 Newton meters. I've checked with a torque wrench. They are both at least 200 Newton meters. The brake pipe bracket is on and secure, although I don't like the way that they've done it on this now compared to the old threaded insert, but it's on and it's good. I will keep an eye on that. However, that's there. I've also given the ferrules, which were showing a little bit of surface corrosion, a wee blast with some underbody wax, just to give them a wee bit of protection. Likewise within here, which was showing a bit of corrosion, I've sprayed a little bit of cavity wax in there as well. What else? I have given the disc, which obviously I've been handling a bit, a clean with some solvents. There is copper grease on the hub, so we're now ready for the wheel to go back on. So now that we're back in the ground, let's get our lug nuts tightened up to 140 Newton meters in a nice cross lace pattern. Once we're torqued up, time to get that hubcap into position, and that's us. So that's the front shocks fitted to the Camaro. I think the next thing this needs doing is we'll get the aerial fixed on this. It's been stuck at half mast for quite some time. I'm hoping it's going to be an easy fix, just with maybe the internal Bowden cable on it, but we'll have a look into that and see. At the moment, it's mostly in Mercedes that's getting done. The next thing up's probably going to be the brakes on my wife's Volvo, if not some rebuilding of suspension on the W126. But there is Camaro footage coming up. Controversially, I might be selling this year. We'll see in spring. I'll put it up for sale. If it doesn't get a decent price, because I think the market's a wee bit soft here in the UK, I'll just keep it. It's such a nice car. I'm not giving it away for peanuts. So we'll see what happens. If it does go, there should be, to replace it, an early 90s Corvette ZR1. That's the aspiration anyway. It might just be the Camaro that stays. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. Cheers to the new subscribers for joining us. Cheers to the old subscribers for staying with us. And yeah, thank you very much, and hope to see you once again on the world's least watched
Automotive YouTube channel. Cheers now. Bye-bye.